Shall we jump in?
We should jump in today. Another episode of Musashi R&D Sessions. We are back after our heated debate in the last two podcasts. Who was the greatest athlete alive? I've been abused. I've received death threats. What about you, Dhiren?
Yeah,
you're pretty popular.
Changed opinion since.
I've seen a few comments though. Ronaldo was a popular choice.
Yeah.
So I think we were able to. The majority actually agreed.
Interesting.
So good on you.
Interesting. Yeah.
Today though, we're going to do something different. We've been looking, or we've put it out on social media. Frequently asked questions. Your questions answered. Sports nutrition questions. We get bombed every day with heaps of different questions. So we've compiled sort of your top, 8 to 10 questions, and we're going to, Dhiren the mastermind, he's going to answer them today.
Well,
we're going to pepper you with questions. You ready?
I frequently get asked these questions, so let's see what happens.
Well, you were on Mastermind New Zealand. You are the go-to man for everything sports nutrition. So let's fire away. What have you got, Hal? What's come in from social?
Question number 1. When should I take protein powder relative to exercise?
Well,
wow.
That's a pretty basic question, but I like it.
I didn't ask it.
No, I know. So some of these the might be for beginners, might be more experienced, so that you're going to get a range.
Yeah, I guess, when it comes to protein powder, the most important thing to remember is that timing is not the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's more.
This has changed a lot over the years, hasn't it?
It's changed a lot. And although, where the origin of a lot of these questions come from is the anabolic window,
Talk about what is the anabolic window
45
quickly.
seconds immediately after you put the weights down.
Yeah, so immediately after training, you're in this insulin-sensitive environment. You absorb nutrients a lot better. So the theory was if you take protein shakes at this time, you're going to get the most benefit out of them. But really, the best time is after training, but you do have a bit more time than 20 minutes after training to get it in.
Yeah, and generally it comes down to sort of protein intake over a day or even a week period. It's not sort of so much has to be straight after a workout. Although I would recommend, within the hour.
Yeah, and, also relating back to your goals, right? If you're trying to recover, try to get that protein in as soon as you can. If you're just, trying to lose weight, trying to get more protein in your diet, then, the timing doesn't matter as much. You can have protein in the morning, for breakfast. You can have it for dessert if you want. Just put it in whenever.
So,
yeah.
sure.
And what about some people? So obviously after training is sort of a given. And a lot of people talk about, should I be having a protein shake like an hour before training as well?
Yeah. So, one of the benefits of having a protein shake before training is that you get this amino acid availability to your muscles. So you're not breaking down your own muscles while you're training. You're actually getting this supply in your bloodstream, which does have some benefit on recovery. And, I would say number 1 choice for timing is after workout. Number 2, an hour before. You don't want to have it too soon before because then you might just be, still be digesting, still have a bit of liquid in your stomach. And then number 3, breakfast.
Yeah,
Nice.
good call. And around training time, the reason that you use sports supplements is that increase or rapid rate of digestion compared to protein equivalents in food.
Yeah. And, you don't want to be frying a chicken breast straight after the gym.
Well, I actually take my camping stove to the gym.
I take my hibachi grill.
I've seen Hal in there with his Weber.
Yeah.
No, just take an entire shish kebab.
Yeah.
All right, we've answered that question. What's next? Rapid fire.
Number 2, what is a safe age to start taking supplements?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, what are you now, 11? You're using
and
it?
I've been taking them for about 13 years.
Well, that's why you're 6'5".
Well, there's what age should you by sort of guidelines?
Funny story. Infant formula is actually, a supplement.
Well, infant formula is whey protein.
Exactly.
Let's rephrase that as sports nutrition supplements.
Well, I mean,
Okay, well, let's break it down by different types of supplements. Let's talk protein first because this is a common one. And I get it. It's like, my son's 15. I don't want him using protein powder. I'm like, well, that's funny because newborn babies, if they're using formula, are actually using whey protein. So,
yeah, at the end of the day, we don't like to recommend our products to anybody below 16.
15, isn't it?
15, 16. Yeah. Just because, primarily you should be getting your protein and your nutrition from food, and you don't want to be disrupting a lot of these habits. One of the most important things about nutrition is, it's a lot to do with your psychology, right? So if you become a protein shake kid, it might might instill some habits that you might not want to carry on in later life, like the inability to cook, for example.
Yeah.
But
I thought you were calling,
that's followed.
I thought you were calling protein shakes the gateway drug there.
yeah.
Well, yeah, for young kids, learn about nutrition first.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're struggling to get your nutrition from food, that's when you can start to bring in some supplementation. But for young kids not young kids, like 15, 16, 17-year-olds, I reckon it's completely safe.
Yeah, I mean, I started my first protein shake when I was like 14, 15 as well.
Yeah, I think I was the same.
So when it comes to other supplements, other nutrients like caffeine, creatine, generally it's better to wait till you're a bit older, until your development's kind of fully complete. So around 18. I know there's 16-year-olds smashing energy drinks out there, but
yeah, there's 12-year-olds out there smashing energy
Yeah.
drinks. I know I've got I keep a couple of sneaky energy drinks in the garage at home, and my 13-year-old daughter gets into it. My 11-year-old sneaks them.
Mm-hmm.
I find them and I'm like, fire up. But that age, they're already into them, which is alarming
yeah.
at that age. But,
It's mainly because there isn't that much evidence because, you think about it from a scientific perspective, studying certain nutrients on younger populations, it's hard to do. Like, you're not going to get ethics approval for a study on creatine on 12-year-olds very easily,
Yeah.
So,
No, look, 14, 15, 16, if you're into sort of sports and you're starting to get serious about your sports, I'd recommend start with protein.
Do your research.
Yeah.
And talk to
Learn about nutrition.
Talk to a medical professional if need be. Just
Yeah.
your GP.
Oh, wow, that's a nice little
wow.
disclaimer, Hal.
Oh, we got
That's meant to be right at the end. You say it really fast. Yeah.
Number 3. What is creatine and what does it do?
Well, creatine is actually, it's a modified peptide, right? It's a type of
Not the peptides you kids are thinking
not
about.
those kind of peptides, but it's basically made from some amino acids, and it's your body produces it. If your body didn't produce it, it would essentially be a vitamin, right? So creatine is really important in this energy system that you have called your phosphagen creatine energy system. So all explosive movements, anything that lasts like less than 10 seconds is going to be relying on creatine as an energy source.
Hal lasts less than 10 seconds.
Hey,
on the basketball court.
who
I mean.
told
Like,
you?
what are you talking about? Yeah.
Very explosive.
Cut that bit, but don't cut it.
What people use creatine for though is to build some size, right? You're gonna retain some fluid. You're gonna
So this retention of fluids, that puts a lot of people off. It's mainly intracellular retention, right?
I retain fluids.
yeah, exactly. It's intracellular retention. So it's all about volumizing your cells rather than your body just holding water and getting bloated.
And creatine, the next follow-up question we get a lot is how much should I be using, and is it okay to use ongoing? Do I need to cycle it or have breaks?
Yeah, so typically we recommend 5 grams of creatine a day. For some people, if you can maintain a good level of creatine, this can be as low as 2 grams per day. Also, some people like to have a loading period where you have a very high dose of creatine for a few days just to saturate yourself and get to the higher level. So, maybe 20 grams for a couple of days and then 5 grams every day after. But loading isn't necessary. It just gets you there faster.
Right. And do you need to... does timing matter? Most people take it in either before or after a workout.
Yeah,
Does it really matter?
Timing does matter. So they've actually studied creatine and shown that, unlike larger macronutrients, these micronutrients, the timing does actually play a difference in depending on what you're trying to achieve. So straight after a workout, creatine is probably most beneficial. Otherwise, straight before a workout, which is why it's in a lot of pre-workout products.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, creatine's had more science behind it than and studies behind it than pretty much any other ingredient in sports nutrition. And it's the one that I notice the most benefits from, that's for sure.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a little bit more energy in the gym just to kind of, push out a little bit harder work and get those results that way.
Yeah, I notice when I'm not using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next
question.
What are the differences between the main types of protein? I assume we're referring to WPC, WPI, high protein, casein, plant protein. What are the main differences between the most common different types of protein?
Well, if you think of...
So what is protein derived from? Those types of proteins.
So WPI, or whey protein isolate,
Yep.
WPC, whey protein concentrate, and casein, these all come from milk, right? The most abundant protein in milk is casein. Most people think it's whey, but it's actually casein. So if you imagine when milk separates into its solids, right? Curds and whey, Little Miss Muffet.
Yep.
What the fuck?
You guys don't know your nursery rhymes? But the liquid part is actually whey. So whey is the water soluble part of milk protein, and then casein is the other part.
Mm-hmm.
So whey protein actually comes from the cheese making process.
Yep.
We've done a big episode about this and how whey protein is made. Mm-hmm. But basically, the difference between proteins is the difference between these dairy proteins is how much they're filtered.
Yes.
Right. So
and the filtration process takes out certain elements, right?
Exactly. So if you think of protein as a book, amino acids are like the letters of this book. I like the letters of the alphabet, which make up this book, right? But within the book, there are words, and these words are like peptides. So whey protein concentrate has quite a bit of peptides in there because, it doesn't go through this additional filtration step. Whereas, if you think about whey protein isolate, it's almost already in this amino acid in the alphabet, right? Mm-hmm. And then if you go one step further into hydrolyzed protein, then you're literally just having the letters of the alphabet soup.
Yeah. So isolate has been through more filtration processes to remove lactose, fats, carbs.
Exactly. And that's why whey protein isolate's about 90% protein, whey protein concentrate's about 80% protein.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the difference between whey-based and plant protein?
Yeah, so plant protein sources are typically incomplete protein sources, so they don't have all the amino acids that you need. So with our plant protein shake, what we do is we combine different plant protein sources and optimize this blend so that it's got all the amino acids that you need for training and recovery. Yeah,
there's no single plant source that has a full amino acid profile, is there?
No, soy is kind of close, but people avoid soy for a number of reasons. The best when it comes to these different measures of protein quality, there's a few different ways you can measure this, but whey protein tends to come out on top, which is why it's so popular and why it's become, the go-to protein source for everybody.
Beautiful. Next one.
What are the benefits of consuming caffeine before exercise?
Well, if you've ever done it, you'd know. But basically, it's not just the energy hit, not just the buzz that you get from caffeine. There's actually a physical performance benefit, right? So they've even studied like your grip strength on caffeine versus not on caffeine, and your grip strength instantly increases, which can have an impact on whatever physical activity you're doing.
Yeah, sometimes grip strength might not be required. But caffeine, widely used. It's in most pre-workouts. It's at varying levels, some levels safer than others. But as an ingredient prior to a workout, I think it's unrivaled.
Yeah, probably the only time to watch out is if you're training at night, right? You don't want to pump yourself full of caffeine at the detriment of your sleep, which is also pretty important for recovery.
Yeah, and look, it is in most pre-workouts, and a lot of pre-workouts these days are just loading their product up with caffeine, and it's mainly just a caffeine hit you're getting. So I would recommend look for a good amount of caffeine, but also a functional formula that has some good amino acids. And
what else would you recommend in a pre-workout then?
Well, in our pre-workout, in our energy drink, we have certain amino acids in there, specifically tyrosine. And, there's a complicated relationship between what caffeine does and your neurotransmitters, basically like dumps them out, and then, you might feel a bit empty, or what they call a caffeine crash, because, you don't have these neurotransmitters replenished. That's why you got to have the amino acids that turn into the neurotransmitters to replenish that, almost like the fuel for the caffeine.
Interesting.
Mm.
What would you say the benefits are of consuming a protein powder over a protein bar?
Cost.
Yeah.
For starters, if you look at pure cost per serve, I know it's more expensive to buy a tub of protein, but if you look at it serve by serve, protein powder is actually much cheaper. And you're generally getting a better source of protein in a higher protein amount. You're able to adjust your amount.
Yeah. So you typically in bars, we've got other ingredients in there just to make it taste good. We literally cover our protein bars with chocolate, right? That's a protein chocolate. But, just to glue the thing together and, give it a bit of texture. There's sometimes a little bit of fat and a little bit of carbs in there. Whereas, the protein shake, generally, it's optimized to your goal, right? You're going to have low carb, low fat. Unless it's a bulk shake, for example, where you might have a bit more carbs as needed.
I think that the trade-off really is convenience compared to you can actually completely trim the macros. Like a protein powder would typically be, to your point, lower fat, lower sugar, lower carbs.
Yeah, but if you don't have access to both are convenient options when you compare them to food. But I mean, if you're out and about and you've missed a meal or something, you don't have a protein powder with you, a bar's a good choice to get a protein top up also.
Yeah.
And they taste really good these days.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the benefits of bars is it actually fills you up a bit more than a protein shake. You know, the active chewing actually makes you a bit more full.
Yeah. Really? So like if you're looking, shakes probably to be used around like training time, and then your bars could be used as like a snack or a replacement of a meal if you haven't got a meal with you.
Yeah.
When and why should I consume carbs?
Well,
around training time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is used to be it's a bit of a. I know everyone used to do this back in the day. I know heaps of people would go out and buy maltodextrin or dextrose, and they would add carbs to their post-workout shake, depending on sort of how many carbs they wanted. And this has sort of fallen out of favour lately. I think a lot of bodybuilders' teeth are rotting out of their head because of all the dextrose. No. But is it necessary to add carbs to your post-workout shake? I guess I get that question a lot.
I would say it's probably not necessary to add it because, you know, most people don't struggle to get enough carbs from the diet, right? Carbs are the easiest thing to get in your diet because carbs are tasty, right? But carbs definitely do have a functional benefit when it comes to recovery and training. In your muscles, you have something called glycogen. So during a workout, you deplete this glycogen, and one of the best ways to replenish it is to have carbs immediately after training. So
and how much? Because I've seen guys up to 100 grams of like dextrose. It only takes, 15 to 20 grams to create some sort of minor insulin spike.
Yeah,
I don't think you need to take in that many.
Yeah, it depends on, you know, your body weight and the type of exercise that you're doing. Like, obviously, you know, if you're just, I guess, kicking a ball against the wall for 15 minutes, you know, you might not need it. But if you're, you know, playing a full game of footy, you probably need a decent amount. So, I would say aim for 20.
Yeah. And look, it's generally only comes into play if you're doing like 2-a-day sessions where you need to sort of get that, you get the carbohydrates back into you quickly. But if you're training sort of in the morning, you don't train again until the following morning, I think you've got plenty of time through meals and stuff to get those carbs back in.
Yeah, and a lot of people have carbs, I guess, intra-workout, right? You know, a lot of the sports drinks out there are loaded with sugar and carbs, and, you know, there's a big push against those at the moment. So, you know, typically if your exercise is longer than 60 minutes, you're going to need some carbs. Yep. If it's below 60 minutes, you know, you're probably going to get enough carbs from your diet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Next question.
Last question.
Last question.
Last one, and a nice, easy one for you guys. How much protein should I consume each day?
All of it.
Yeah. Well.
Pardon?
Like all the protein.
The answer to every question is...
It depends.
It depends, right? So it depends on your goal. You know, if you're trying to lose weight, you might not need 300 grams of protein.
All right, sedentary person not exercising. No one's listening to this podcast if they're sedentary, but sedentary person.
Yeah, so bare minimum, try for 1 gram per kilogram of body weight per day. Absolute minimum.
So 80 kilo guy, 80 grams of protein a day for sedentary person, which is equivalent to what? 25 to 30 grams of protein across a few meals in each meal.
Which is kind of normal.
Yeah, which is normal.
Yep.
Whereas, you know, if you are an athlete, you're going to have to have more protein, right? Most athletes have a greater requirement for protein. So ideally, you want to be aiming for about 2 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is quite a lot.
Yep. So 80 kilo guy.
160 grams.
160 grams of protein a day spread out amongst however many meals you have.
Exactly. So it might be hard to get it just from food alone. So you may need a top up, but if you can get it from food alone, you've got some good cooking skills. And then, you know, if
it's about 40 grams of protein per meal if you're having 4 meals a day.
Yeah.
So equivalent to what? Half a chicken breast or something roughly.
Yeah. But if, you know, bare minimum as an athlete, I would say 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is around 120 grams for 80 kilogram guy.
Yeah. I think in general, when you first sort of get into training and depending on your goal, I think people actually overconsume protein initially, and then you sort of find the balance. You actually,
I have 1
it's
kilogram
important.
for every kilogram of body weight.
1 kilogram.
I have 95 kilograms of protein every day.
What are you, an elephant or?
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Elephants probably don't even eat.
But I work for Musashi.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
easy to get.
Well, back when I was powerlifting, like, you know, for a powerlifter, for strength athletes, you actually have the highest protein requirement amongst all athletes. So they say for strength athletes, you want even up to 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram body weight per day.
Mm-hmm. What if you take in too much? This is a question I've got actually for protein and also creatine.
Yeah. Well, I guess with creatine, it's a bit easier. You kind of hit the ceiling, It's probably not going to have any beneficial effect after a certain amount.
Creatine?
But, it is possible to actually affect your kidney function if you have way too much creatine.
It's going to take a lot of creatine, but what it gets converted into creatinine or something.
Yeah, exactly. But also, if you have some kind of kidney disease, it can cause bigger issues there.
Mm-hmm.
And same with protein, right? For most healthy people, you're pretty much never going to hit this upper limit of protein intake. And,
it's tough to get that much protein in.
Exactly. Like, there's been a bit of, pseudoscience or debunked science in the past that saying, too much protein is bad for your kidneys, bad for your liver.
Is that how they talk as well?
Too much protein is bad for your kidneys, bad for your liver. Have you not heard
that is
debunked scientists talk before?
It's probably the most common thing that's come up in the industry.
Yeah.
And it has been debunked so many times, but I still hear it.
Yeah,
so much.
I mean, it's been studied over and over again, and if you're within these guidelines that we recommended, you're not going to cause any damage, and in fact, you're going to struggle to hit this protein. Let's be honest. But having said that, some people do have kidney issues and liver issues where you can't have enough protein because you can't process it.
Cue disclaimer.
Yeah.
All right, that's all questions answered. Awesome episode. If you've got any more questions, fire them into us via Musashi socials or wherever you find us. And until next week.
Yeah, catch us for a follow-up episode of infrequently asked questions later.
Yeah. Obscure questions. Yeah. There's quite a few of those that came through.
Yeah, for sure.
What was the biggest question that came through? How do I become a Musashi athlete?
How do I get sponsored by Musashi?
Yeah. The answer is become an professional athlete and be one of the world's best.
Australia's #1 rated UFC middleweight fighter.
No, I love it. Keep those requests coming in. But thanks for listening. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Musashi out.